college football gods are actually doing the smart thing. They actually are no longer waiting for us to know what the obvious is. Congratulations to Mike Leach and to his family. You're going to be forever remembered in the College Football Hall of Fame. Welcome on into the Overtime Drive. He's Dave Shumate. I'm Cole Thompson. We have a jam-packed show for you on Thursday, May 29, 2025. Anonymous coaches are sending out signals throughout the SEC. Athlon Sports did a recent interview with multiple names, and some of these storylines are a little bit far-fetched. What do we make of the SEC Big Ten Challenge? And of course, we got to continue our series breaking down Missouri's schedule. What are they going to be at the end of the year? Well, real quickly, like the video, hit subscribe. Make sure that you're following us on all social channels, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at SEC Unfiltered. Follow Dave at Dave Shumate SEC, me at Mr. Cole Thompson, and check out all of our great work found at secunfiltered.com. And as always, this episode is proudly fueled by our friends over at FANDUEL. Go visit FANDUEL.com right now, whether you want to bet on the NBA Finals, the Stanley Cup Finals, the start of the College Baseball World Series brackets, Women's College World Series, SEC, back-to-back winners today. But, of course, they were always going to be since it was only 4 SEC teams playing against each other. Go lay down some cash, $5. You win $250 in bonus bets when you win your first bet. Schuster college football gods have decided that the Pirate has earned his rightful place in Atlanta as a member of the future College Football Hall of Fame. Now, he hasn't been voted in just yet. He has to actually get through the voting process. But they changed their ruling to where now 59.5% of wins will make you an automatic qualifier to be on the ballot. I think that most people know they're going to be putting in a guy not like Mike Leach.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a no-brainer. Again, not necessarily for what he did at Mississippi State. I mean, Dan Mullen had a better track record, but I think just overall the way they changed the game when he was at Kentucky, Valdosta State with Hal Mumme, the spread offense, the personality he was, I definitely think he had a massive impact on the sport from, like I mentioned, his time at Kentucky, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, Washington State, Mississippi State, just overall, when people think of college football, I mean, yeah, Mike Leach, I think most people can relate to Mike Leach. So I think that's a no-brainer. I think that's you truly using your common sense, lowering that percentage a little bit.
You cannot tell the story of college football without Mike Leach. And when that becomes the outlier, when that becomes the point of emphasis, when you look back and say to yourself, what changed about the sport? Because remember, this was a guy that helped alter the air raid offense and what we know today. And it's been derived in so many different paths over the last 2 decades plus. It's something that you all look back to as who was the godfather. Hal Mumme was, of course, the main inventor. But what you don't know is that without the teachings and without the findings of Mike Leach being able to kind of enhance it, you don't get this version of college football. And keep in mind, he's also won everywhere. And he was weird and he was out there and he brought prominence to minor programs and treated them like major outliers. Like Mike Leach was never a dude that you would ever see suiting up on the sidelines at Bryant-Denny Stadium or at Michigan Stadium or even Knoxville, Tennessee, for that matter. He had to be on the outside. He had to be the name that would fight for the little guy and bring them to the front table, which is why he was so successful at Texas Tech and why he was so successful at Washington State and why he went to Mississippi State and really, without missing a beat, kept them in that conversation of 9 wins, 8 wins. That was Mike Leach's standard. Go to places that needed somebody to put them on a good location and a good fair playing ground and elevate the status of the program. He did that in 3 different locations. He died way too young, but at least his memory will forever be honored in Atlanta, and it's rightfully earned because of, again, to tell the story of college football, do it without mentioning Mike Leach.
Yeah, I think everybody universally agrees on this one.
Like, review, hit subscribe. Make sure that you're following us on all social media channels, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Ignore the blue light glasses. I've been working all day.
What's going on here, baby?
I've been working all day, and my eyes are freaking killing me, and I didn't want to have to, be squinting the entire night. So I was like, all right, throw on my blue lights. So that's what I'm wearing right now. Anonymous coaches. This is the fun time because if it's magazine time, you're going to see a lot of magazines come out, whether it be Rivals, whether it be Field Steel, whether it be College Football Playoff magazine. I have my own friends that do a magazine. We know people that do a magazine. We all love the magazine culture. Athlon, in my opinion, still is one of the standards when it comes to the magazine culture. And naturally, they recently released all of their SEC conversations, as well as the Big 10, the Big 12, and a couple of other things. But I'm telling you, what's so interesting is that these anonymous coaches seem to come up with really good material and really solid overall descriptions of certain
I
players.
always
And
wonder
then,
how real these are, Bear. Who's actually this coach? Like, who are you considering? Is this some random recruiting assistant?
well, that's the thing is that which coach are we talking about here? How high up in the
Is it a head coach? Yeah.
Are they a GA? Are they and does that qualify as a coach? Are they a defense coordinator? Is it a coach that works as a simple assistant to a play call? Like, a lot of these things can be true, but like either way, they're at least having these conversations. So we're going to go ahead and debunk and break down some of these. Let's start off in Norman, Oklahoma, because Sooner Cowboys in the chat. They started talking about John Mateer, who both Dave and I said was the #1 quarterback in the transfer portal this past cycle. Goes to Norman, reunites with Ben Arbuckle, reunites with this quarterback coach. Successful season last year out in Pullman. Led college football in total yards, led college football in total touchdowns. But Athlon, or at least according to this coach, is a little bit down on what Mateer is. It's a huge gamble that they can come in and immediately accumulate to play against the defenses in this league. We'll see if he can do it because of what will be determining the staff's future. So when you hear that, Dave, do you buy it a little bit? Do you buy that it's a gamble to go after a John Mateer?
No, because we said it on Tuesday, our last episode, when we pushed the episode back because of Memorial Day. We talked about my concern with Oklahoma's the offensive line. It's not Mateer to me. I mean, I feel like he's it's wild to say because he's never played it down in this league, but I've seen plenty of quarterbacks as good as him have success, not only in the sport, but in the SEC. It's going to be the surrounding cast and how healthy they can be. So, yeah, I don't think it's a gamble. I mean, who else did you want him to go get at quarterback? Jackson Arnold was leaving. I mean, who else did you really want them to go get? This is as good as a pickup as you could get. He's the least of my concerns. It's that supporting cast overall that's going to be make or break for Oklahoma this year.
I brought this up on Tuesday. I'll bring it up again. It's not a gamble when I know what I'm getting in the quarterback. Because if I'm not going out and bringing in a quarterback from the G5 level that's never played in Ben Arbuckle's system, that's the key here. Ben Arbuckle spent the last 2 years working with John Mateer. First off, when he was a backup to Cam Ward, and then last year when he took over as QB1 out in Pullman. If anybody knows what's going to work and what's going to not for a guy like John Mateer, it's Ben Arbuckle. So you're not gambling anymore when you think about it for the stance of, we have the right guy who has worked with this quarterback, who has made this quarterback into a standout player at the Pac-12 level. What makes you think that he's not going to be consistent here? And that's not a shot to say that there's going to be some lulls, that there could be some games where Mateer ends up throwing an interception because of it's on the road. But if it was against a team like San Jose State, he wouldn't get that pick thrown. Like, those are things that can happen. But I look at the rest of the roster. The wide receiver play, if it's healthy, is going to be as good, if not better, than what you had out in Washington State last year. The offensive line, the terms of talent that comes to Norman, is going to be better than what you had at Washington State last year. Your defense is going to bail you out of trouble at times to where you won't have to be the first, second, and only option for your team. And you throw all that in on top of the fact that you have a guy that has already mastered the teachings of Ben Arbuckle. So much so that he is basically a student's teacher pet on the field and kind of getting everyone caught up to speed. Hey, I'm telling you to cut left. I need you to cut left here. I need you to turn right here. I need you to be able to block here. This is the way that he wants the play to be run. You got to make sure that when you're blocking, you're opening up this lane at this angle. He's doing all the other little things to where most quarterbacks that come on in from the G5 level to the SEC or really to any Power 4 conference, they're not accustomed to being that vocal. And I was speaking to somebody out in Norman not too long ago, and they said one of the things that has stood out from the early part of John Mateer being on campus is everybody is listening to him. Everybody is like, yep, we got it. You're our dude. You're our quarterback. We know that you're 100% the right guy. So when you already have that buy-in, and you also know that the quarterback has worked in the same offensive personnel before, and you also have better weapons and a better consistent target, and you also are going to be able to enhance the level of play from what you saw last year, it's not a gamble. Like I understand when you say, oh, yeah, this is probably going to be a team that doesn't exceed 9-10 wins. Okay, I can understand that. But it's not because of your quarterback. It's because of everything else around him. It's because of your offensive line. It's because of you don't have the same defensive personnel. It's because of bad play calling at times. It's not the quarterback part.
Yeah, I mean, if you had to guess who said that, Bear, who do you think?
Some graduate assistant that works on a defensive personnel level. That probably
more so for like a head coach standpoint. I'm gonna go Eli Drinkwitz. If you made me pick a head coach, said that it's got to be a guy that has a quarterback that thinks he's an offensive guy, or you wouldn't say that because you wouldn't say that if it's an offensive guy in the league. If you made me say it was a head coach, which I'm not saying it's a head coach. Hell, these quotes could be made up by the who writes Athlon, so no one can ever prove that. But if you made me say a head coach said something like that, which one in the league? I would go Eli Drinkwitz. He's an offensive guy, quarterback guy. That's who I'd go with.
He knows quarterback. Speaking of him, let's actually bring him up. He was another name that was.
Who do you think it is, Bear? If you name a head coach,
I'll be cruel and say Lane Kiffin. Lane just wanted to stir the pot. Just go out there and say, "Oh, I wanted him, but I couldn't get him, so now it's a gamble because if he's not going to be playing with me." But Eli Drinkwitz was brought up in this conversation. So was Missouri. Missouri this past year went 10-3, back-to-back double-digit win seasons underneath Drink. Really kind of changed his tune and his persona out in Columbia. One of the most underrated coaching staffs in the entire country. If they can flip the quarterback, rework that offensive line, and win another 10 games, Eli should be on everyone's short list. This is not an overly talented roster right now and might not win as many games, but the program's health and identity are strong. Eli has carved out a spot in the SEC and has built a reliable winner. I actually agree with this take a lot.
No, I don't think they win 10 games. I don't think they're not going to replace what they lost on offense. Again, people can downplay Brady Cook if they want to a little bit, but that was a 2-year starter. I know he came out of nowhere and won that job a couple years ago, but I think they're going to miss him more than people think. I don't think they win 10 games, but I think even an 8-win season, you're still on the right track. I mean, you capitalize that with a win over Kansas. I mean, that's almost like 2 wins to Missouri between the border wars. I mean, between Kansas and Missouri, can't stand each other, and you're putting this rivalry back on paper or on the field this year, I should say. I mean, I think it's all. I mean, you go win 8 games, and one of those is Kansas at home. I mean, I would argue that it's still in the right trajectory. I mean, I think it's a little unrealistic to think they're going to go win 10 games, and I think they benefited from an easy schedule last year to some extent. I mean, they were 9-3, but I did not think that was some great football team that played. They were good, solid, but I wouldn't say great. So I'm not expecting another 10-win season. I think they're right in that 8-4 range right now.
The thing is, I'm looking at it from the quote perspective. Eli Drinkwitz, one of the most underrated coaches in the SEC, one of the coaches that deserves a little bit more respect. If he gets to 8 wins this year with how much roster turnover there was, if he gets still a top 20 defense or a top 25 defense, if Bo Pabula is a solid quarterback that you can say, hey, 2026, we feel really good about our group.
That kid is such a mystery. I mean,
but if he does all those things and Kevin Coleman goes for 1,000 yards and one of your wide receivers that you have ends up
everything went right for him. Yes, they can win. But that's what the quote is. Not everything goes right. I mean, every now and then you'll see.
Right, but I'm not talking about the 10 wins. I'm talking about him being an underrated coach and this being an underrated staff. That I agree with.
No. I'm not saying the 10 wins either. I'm just saying, if the stars align for Missouri, they did 2 years ago. I think in the 23 season, they had the same starting 5, at least on the offensive line for 11-12 or 12-13 if you include the bowl game. I mean, that's injury luck right there, whereas Oklahoma had the wrong end of the stick last year.
Yeah, but when you're looking at it from Missouri's perspective of if they end up getting 10 wins, how do you not?
Oh, that'd be unbelievable.
And how do you not consider that staff to be one of the best in the SEC? Because if Corey Batoon comes on in, he replaces Blake Baker. You don't really notice a difference. You don't notice a drop.
And let's say LSU's a little average to down on defense again. You're kind of sitting there, like you said, Bear. If they won 10, hell, even 9, and they're good on defense, which I think they have some personnel where they could be legitimate. The transfer from Georgia, Wilson. I mean, if they can get him going consistently, that motor going. That's why you have coaching from your first name. They have some weapons there, Bear. I'm with you. That would be an interesting perspective at the end of the year to go reevaluate. If Missouri won, I'm even dropping it down a game. A 9. They went 9-3 and were solid to good on defense, and LSU kind of fumbles, goes 9-3, 8-4, and they're not great on defense. Missouri maybe got the better end of the deal of this one, fellas.
It's not even that. It's more so just that staff is so well accustomed to knowing what they have and how to embrace.
It would be that. I don't know how else it wouldn't be.
No, what I'm saying is that staff is so well tuned of knowing what they have, what they can work with, what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses, and they don't really care. They're just going to bring out the best version of this team. That makes sense to where this is one of the most underrated staffs in college.
Dude, if they went and won 9 games this year, you could look at the turnaround of what was it? Was it the 22 season? I mean, dude, Eli was on a verge of another losing season of getting fired 3 years ago. And then you turn this into like a 10, 11, 9, another 9-win season. It's like, damn, you flipped you went a total 180. And to your point, I mean, that'd be applauded. I mean, yeah, that'd be very impressive.
If he wins the bowl game and they go 9-3, that will be 3 straight 10-win seasons. That will be 31 straight. I mean, that'll be 31 wins in 3 years.
Oh, because I'm looking at it. What'd they go to? All right, they went 6 Remember, he didn't for his first 2 years. He didn't have a winning record.
No, and he was the play caller, and that was one of the big things.
Yeah,
when
Kirby Moore, one of the more underrated hires in the last 3 years in the sport,
and he has done phenomenal with wide receivers, and that's why it's like if everything hits, if Ahmad Hardy comes on in and leads the SEC in rushing, and their defense is top 30, and they get to like 9-3, at this point. We're starting to enter that conversation.
Let's say this would be another rebuild offensively. Like this would be like the first time that you make, all right, maybe every squirrel finds a nut every now and then, even a blind squirrel finds a nut, whatever the saying is. If you go do this again after losing Mimbo, Luther Burden, Brady Cook, you mentioned I like the 2 running backs last year. You go replace that and you put up good production. Man, dude, Kirby Moore probably won't even be in Columbia next year. Let's be honest.
He probably could be in Columbia right now, but he's waiting for the right job to open up. Like, honestly, I would have hired him last year if I was looking for a head coach.
I think 3 years is like that's a big proof of concept right there.
I don't know if an SEC team is going to be open like Texas A&M, but Texas A&M was on the list. They didn't finish strong, but the turnaround here was remarkable. As coaches, we talk about the culture, and this place is really falling to rock bottom under Jimbo. You turn on the tape from Elko, and those kids are playing harder, playing smarter, and the coaching, it's culture. It's what the fans want. Elko understands A&M, and eventually this could be the most physical, aggressive team in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. After working with Mike Elko first year on Jimbo Fisher's staff, DC hired him from Wake Forest. Yeah, I mean, I think he understands from being there what A&M wants. I think this is a big year for him. You go win 9 games. I don't even think you have to make the playoffs. Just show some improvement, and I think you're going to build some momentum. And again, I think kind of show to my point, I keep saying the proof of concept. I think that's only going to enhance because even with the revenue share, guys, with 20 mil and ultimately football is probably going to get that 15 million. Like you're still going to have under the table deals going on. Like it's still going to happen. And A&M has deep pockets. I think that would incite the big donors to continue to invest money into this program. I'm saying invest just wholeheartedly there. But if you went and only won like 7, 8 games again, that'd be tough. I mean, I think that USC loss, again, bowls aren't nearly as important as they used to because the teams are so different. You don't carry that same momentum. That was a real net. That just had to leave a terrible taste in your that USC. I mean, that was a bad
loss. You were also up by double digits and you found a way.
Yeah, no, but I think whoever said that, I mean, I'm going to play my own game here. Who would say that? That sounds like something I got it. Freeze or somebody would say, I don't know, something random, but I don't even know why they'd ask him about Elko. But no, I mean, I think Elko does fit it right. He's a hardworking, edgy guy. The defense is always going to be good. But this is a big momentum year. I don't think he's going to get fired this year, but it's a big momentum year.
What I'd say that I take away from that quote is that 100% the culture's changed. Like, I noticed it from the little things. And I noticed that because I was on the beat before I came into SEC Unfiltered. So I got to see an up close beginnings of Mike Elko. Number one, they changed the entire workout regimen. They hired Tommy Moffitt. So when you went out and you brought in Tommy Moffitt from LSU, everything from the strength and conditioning that wasn't working for the last several years, and you watched the way that they were being coached underneath Jimbo, it was very lackadaisical. It felt very kind of go through the motions type of feel, in my own opinion.
Jimbo just kind of took what worked in 2003 and 5, and I guess
And said, hey, we're going to continue to do it because it works.
It was what Alabama did. When we do the fourth quarter program, we don't adjust. Again, it's kind of like Gus Malzahn. If you ever watched in the offseason, went into the offensive staff room, they were only watching Florida State and Texas A&M film and Auburn film. They only watched themselves. So, I mean, yeah, it just wasn't a growth room. And, dude, I sat there in recruiting meetings with Mike Elko, would get flustered as hell as much time it was wasted in that program when Jimbo Fisher was around. So, yeah, he saw how not to run a program.
He also kind of realized at Duke, hey, this is the facility that you have. These are the resources you have. Now you get double the amount of money. You get double the amount of resources. You get double the amount of success of all the things that are in place here. You can end up having one of the best teams in college football as long as you start to prove that you're changing the identity of the team. And so last year, as much as A&M fans don't want to hear you went 8-5, you also found a coach that's going to be fully invested in Texas A&M. He's not going to be content watching this team every single year go 8-4. He's not going to be content seeing how, oh, we're not at the same level as Alabama, or we're watching as Missouri is doing better than us, or we're watching as Texas is making their way into the SEC, and it just becomes a cakewalk for them. He's not okay with that. And so the big takeaway that I got from year one is they've landed the right coach to lead them in the future. And I do think that, yes, they can be a program of success. It's got to start soon. But the fact is that if you don't have a culture and you don't have an identity and you don't have a good baseline of a foundation that people can follow behind, you're not going to go anywhere. You have that now in College Station. So I take that as a massive win for A&M last year, is that you know that the coach that you hired was always the right call. Now you got to make sure that you let him run his system the way he sees fit. The way he's done things defensively, I think, is going to be different this year. I think offensively, he's giving full control to Colin Klein. Let's see if it works. If it doesn't, he will guarantee make a change at some point, and you will have a different style of offense that will come on in and be better for 2026. So, again, from a coaching standpoint, I fully agree with this. It is a coaching decision that I think will deliver strong, aggressive, physical, no nonsense, and a stable identity out in Kyle Field that can eventually win you 10 games and be a constant player in the college football playoff threat. I agree.
Yeah, I think Colin Klein would probably be shown the exit door if they struggle here offensively, because it's the most weapons he's ever had outside of someone like Deuce Vaughn.
Not Lane Kiffin. Shane Beamer made the list too. Talking about South Carolina last year, you went 9-4, 9-3, probably the hottest team down the stretch in college football. If you get that 2-point conversion, maybe go to the college football playoff. If Nikki Amanwari gets that interception account, maybe go to the college football playoff. But the expectations are these guys are going to be sky high. If they can continue to get to that level of production from their defensive front and run the ball effectively, that's still the best way, most reliable way to win games in the league. It's playoff or bust for these guys because they know that they're going to lose some of their best pieces at the end of the season.
I think that's a little unfair to South Carolina. Like, they lost so much. I mean, everybody talked Kyle Kennard was awesome.
He was right about the quote when it said, winning on the ground and winning with defense will keep you successful in the league. If they can do that, but that goes for every team in college football, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if you can run the football and control the line of scrimmage on the defensive side, yeah, you're going to win a lot of football games. But, like, as we saw in the bowl game, they struggled in the red zone. What were they, 3 for 4 in red zone attempts without Rocket Sanders? I mean, we saw 2022 Rocket Sanders in Fayetteville. He was awesome last year. And then, again, like I mentioned, the two edge guys, Kennard, Dylan Stewart, rightfully so. I mean, Kennard won SEC Player of the Year. They had a phenomenal year, but I think a lot of people just totally forget how good that interior was with Tonka Hemingway, TJ Sanders, and them. Like, that was a dominant, really good team, a really good front. And you lose those guys. Again, I don't think it's a bad year if South Carolina wins 7 games. I don't think it's a playoff because I don't think they're going to be as good on defense. And I'm interested to see what Mike Shula does. I'm still waiting to see what they do, who can step up at the wide receiver spot consistently. Like I mentioned, in the red zone now without Rocket Sanders. Again, I think if Lenore Sellers can definitely improve, I'll be interested in that. But I don't know. I think playoffs for this team, it's a little bit of an unfair expectation to them just with what they lost on defense.
It's unfair, but I don't think 7-5 is a winning season, like in their standards. I think 8-4. And the reason I say that is because of you still have, in my opinion, a top 5 returning quarterback in college football. Now, again, he can't be Superman every single drive, every single play, because last year he wasn't. Now, he had a lot of drives where he took over games and he put the team on his back. You go back and you watch that Clemson game, and he's juking and jiving, he's making people miss, and there he's in the end zone, and now they're taking the lead. But also keep in mind that without Demetrius Knight's interception, maybe Clemson wins that game and you end up going 8-4 to begin with. So a lot of other things had to go into the process. I agree with you. The defense is going to be missing a beat. Now, they may find their rhythm by the middle of the season and they might get an upset win or two. I can absolutely see that because it's Shane Beamer. It's what Beamer does. Hits the over and win totals and finds a way to go march in and kick somebody's ass. I can see that. But I feel like 8-4 is more so the standard. It's not playoff or bust. Because of also, in a new world with NIL, if you have the money and the resources to be able to retain some of your best players, like Lenore Sellers could go pro at the end of this year. He also could be so driven to go to the playoff one time and realize, I come back, I'm going to have a veteran offensive line. I'm also going to get paid a decent amount for the NIL collective. I'm going to be bought in for one more year. So it doesn't mean that he has to go. You're going to lose some names, but not all the key names. And you also aren't going to lose Dylan Stewart, and you also aren't going to lose Nick Harbor, and you also aren't going to lose Mazeo Bennett. And what if one of these freshman 4-star wide receivers ends up hitting their stride at the end of the year? Well, now it's a baseline moving forward. So it's like, it's not playoff or bust, in my opinion. But I do agree that if they can run the football the way they did last year, and that's a big if, because if you got to hope that Oscar Attaway can be that guy.
Yeah, I hope you stayed as healthy as you did on the offensive line last year.
Faison also is going to be a factor, and he's picking up the offense, and he knows it like the back of his hand. And Lenore Sellers is still basically being Superman and wearing the cape and then punching it on in for 6 points. Like, you got to hope for all those things. It's possible. But I am very much lower on South Carolina than I was last year. I thought South Carolina was the most unpredictable team in college football in 2025. I think this year, I know what they can be. Their peak is probably a 9-win team, maybe a 10-win team that finds their way as an 11 seed in the playoff. But that means a lot of things went your way. A lot of the transfer portal players hit, and a lot of your young talent developed overnight to turn into superstar all-SEC potential.
Yeah, I think it should be a 7-8 win team with them. And again, even 6 wins, you never know with some injuries there. You're just surviving a season. It happens.
When we were doing Florida's breakdown, what did you say their ceiling was?
Florida's ceiling, I think I gave 9.
Yeah, I think I said 9. Maybe it was 10. Athlon Sports and some coaches believe that they could be an 11-win team and they can make the college football playoff. If DJ continues to develop and stays healthy, they're going to continue to improve. Lagway could compete with Arch for the best quarterback in the league. Lagway and that offensive line are legit enough to bring the Florida True offense back. If they can be in the hunt for a playoff bid and start scoring points like those old Gator programs, I think that he, meaning Billy Napier, will be off the hot seat. They don't have a killer at receiver, but they're very solid at running back. All right, 2 points real fast. Number one, they don't have a killer that we know of right now at receiver, because the Dallas Wilson may end up being that dude at the end of the year. We don't know. We don't know if Trey Wilson can be that guy, or if Adam Mizell can be that guy, or if it's the other kid that you bring in, Vernell Brown. They could have a killer at wide receiver. We just don't know it. I truly believe that they maybe have the best running back tandem that not enough people are talking about at a national perspective.
Yeah, I could agree that. I could see that definitely from Ball and them. That's definitely a fair point there. I think it is. It's kind of similar to how I say about Auburn. This is definitely Florida's most talented team we've seen probably since 20. I'd probably say since 2020, like the COVID team that won the SEC East with Dan Mullen and them.
Yeah, from a talent standpoint, I agree.
That's what I said, a talent
standpoint. Yeah, from a talent standpoint.
I don't think this is the best team. I mean, granted, let's be honest. They've had a losing record every year outside of last year from those teams. So, no, I mean, yeah, I think this team's ceiling, just that schedule again, though. And then you got some real early challenges at Miami and at LSU. You got to get one of those. And like you mentioned, Barry, you brought him up now. So you need you need somebody like him to step up, because I think Eugene Wilson's kind of a role guy. I think he's a solid 2. I don't know if he can go be your dude, your wide receiver 1. I think Aiden Mizell is still just too thin. I think his frame's never going to be able to put enough on to get that big. A little concerned with Ryan Williams about that. So Dallas Wilson, I'm right. I'm with you, Barry. I think he's going to have a big year for them to ultimately hit their ceiling. But no, I agree with that quote. Yeah, they go have a big year this year. Yeah, the hot seat totally turns off.
What about the quote that says he could be the best quarterback alongside Arch Manning?
I'm concerned about the health stuff, dude. That's my thing right there. Again, like you were saying, the unknown about like as far as we know right now, they don't have a true number one wide receiver. But like you mentioned, Dallas Wilson may step up. We don't know about DJ Lagway's true health. I mean, we really just don't like. Yeah, he may be healthy rolling into fall, but then first game you take one big hit. Cause I'm sure they'd be healthy with him in fall or careful with him in fall camp. But just one hit, you re-aggravate that stuff, man. And I don't know. For Arch Manning, I mean, you just got two guys that we just don't have enough data or enough information to make that decision of. Yeah, sure, because they could be in the same elite group. Absolutely. My main concern is I know Arch is, as much as I know, healthier than some concerns DJ Lagway has.
Lagway's injury concern is going to be the reason why I don't think he can reach his full potential this year. But two things. Number one, he's not leaving after this year. And if he does, it's to the portal. It's not to the NFL draft. And number two, you just want to see him play a full season. Like, in my opinion, it's going into 2026 that we want to see the final piece of Lagway come together. But I've gotten to watch this kid play up close when he was at Willis. And I got to see him throughout his high school career. He has all the intangibles that you want in a quarterback that, yes, can lead the SEC in passing yards, and passing touchdowns, completion percentage, passer rating, yards per play. He can win a freaking Heisman. Like, he has the talent to do so. Now, again, when it comes to Heisman, you can't do this by yourself. You can't. As much as Lenore Sellers, you can go ahead and say last season, did so much of putting the team on his back. One of the most iconic moments that helped South Carolina get to a 9-win season was the little shovel pass and the pile drive forward by Rocket Sanders. So you aren't just doing this alone. You have to have a good supporting cast. And that's where I do have my questions at the receiver position. But I also just know that if I'm getting the vintage version of Lagway that I watched 2 years in high school, and he's more refined, and he feels comfortable running Billy's system, and he has one receiver, it could be Hayden Hansen, the tight end, for all I know. But one guy that is just a constant, I got you, you got me, we're speaking the same vibe, we're on the same wavelength, everything is peachy keen. He is going to show you all the attributes that makes him such a special name. Like, I don't have a problem with people putting him inside your top 10 for quarterback rankings. I don't even have a problem with Arch being in your top 10, but at least I've seen DJ Lagway prove in big games, LSU and Ole Miss last year, he can deliver a performance that has room for improvement, but he lives up to the hype. He lives up to the expectations. If he gets better, he gets more comfortable, he feels more acclimated with all the things surrounding him out in Florida, I think Florida can be a 10-win team. Now, again,
if everything goes their way again, yeah, I think he'll be good.
But like, that's it, because if the offensive line is really good for Florida, like enough people,
Let's see. I'm still concerned about the right side, Bear.
Yeah, I'm coming around.
It's been an issue since they've been there.
I'm coming around to it more. I think that just the stability and the continuity of you having, what is it? Is it 4 guys back this year?
Yeah, because with the kid, I think they have, what's his name back? Crenshaw Dixon, who they brought in. What was that, Arizona State kid? Again, remember they made the mistake putting Damian George out at right tackle, where he's an interior guy. They got that right. But Crenshaw Dixon's gone, so they need Bryce Lovett kid to step up. So that'll be that's just my concern there. I mean, you like their center. I mean, he's one of the better centers in the league.
Nick Slaughter, in my opinion, is probably the best center in the SEC.
I'm a Connor Liu guy, but yeah, you could go Slaughter.
Him, Tolleson from Missouri, they're all like in that same range of where Brailsford belongs there too. Yeah, but I like what I've seen from DJ, and I think that he's only going to get better. I think that the fact that Billy is letting him run the offense outside of the health, I really don't have that many questions when it comes to it's like John Mateer conversation. I don't really have questions surrounding the quarterback. I have questions surrounding Florida, but the quarterback part, okay, just throw it to the wayside. We'll talk about the other things later. Billy's on the hot seat. I would say Hugh Freeze is on the hot seat. I think that Hugh is facing a little bit more pressure because Auburn fans have been very timid at this point and a little bit relaxed. But you spend money in the portal, you spend back-to-back top 5 recruiting classes, you got to start seeing results. Watch out here. They finally have a quarterback that can run Hugh Freeze's system, and they've done some really impressive work in the portal. That's not an elite team by any stretch, but it is the most complete roster Freeze has had since he got out there. I think this is a turnaround year for these guys, and they're definitely bowling.
definitely. But did Hugh Freeze say
Why?
that?
Why is that a thing? Like, can we bring that up?
Did Hugh quote himself there?
Like, that's what I was about to say. That's one of the words, like, Hugh, we know it's you, dude. Like, we know this is you.
Well, I hope it. I hope that I'd rather it be a made up quote than the guy talking about himself. But no, yeah, the bowl. Yeah, I think everybody expects you to go bowling. I think everybody expects Auburn to go bowling, or they should. Yeah, Hugh Freeze is gone if they go 5-7. But no, I agree. I think it's the best roster they've had since probably 2019 outside the quarterback spot. But I also think Jackson Arnold's going to be pretty good this year. Me and you agree, Bear. We talked about it. Tennessee and Auburn have very beneficial schedules. We're talking Auburn, so that makes sense there. I think the defense is going to be pretty good. We talked about that 2 nights ago. Love the corners. Love the 2 edge guys, Crawford and Keldrick Fogg. I think they're going to be good. Year 2 under DJ Durkin. I do. Auburn's one of my sleepers in the league this year. If you told me somebody kind of exceeded their win total by like a game and a half, 2 games, I think Auburn gives a schedule, and I think they put a good foundation. They built more depth, especially on defense. And oh man, you've been waiting for the offensive line to be solid since 2019 or 20s, and I think this could be the year for them. Just replacing a running back will be interesting.
That week 1 game on Friday night in Waco has started to become more and more and more and more intriguing to me because I really do think that will be the wake-up call for one of these 2 teams in their respective conferences. Like, if Baylor comes out swinging and they put belt to ass against Auburn, I truly believe that they're going to be a player for the Big 12 championship. I think Auburn, if they could belt to ass against Baylor, especially a veteran Baylor team that's like top 10 in returning production, they're setting the tone for what they can be in the SEC. Doesn't mean that they will be a 9-win team. Doesn't mean they will be an 8-win team, but they're setting the tone for the beginning of the year. I have not sold my Jackson Arnold stock. And the big reason why I haven't is because I really do like him for Hugh Freeze's offense. The things that work for Jackson Arnold is what Hugh wants in a quarterback. I like the wide receiver room. Like, this is going to be a not only great wide receiver room, but it's also, even if it's a little banged up and it's not fully healthy, it's okay because
it can't be worse than what Jackson Arnold experienced last year.
But look at who you have behind him. Like Cam Coleman misses a game. Okay, well, you still have Eric Singleton and Bryce Kane and Perry Thompson and Malcolm Simmons. Like, they would be
Perry Thompson's the last kid. He didn't do anything last year. I like Malcolm Simmons better than I like.
But I'm using names in general that are guys that could take over for 1 game in place of Cam Coleman.
Yeah, they go about 5. They should go 5 or 6 deep this year.
So it's like, even if you're missing one of your top 4 receivers, the other 3 are going to make up for the production loss. So I don't worry about that. I think the offensive line is finally better. I like their defense. I really like their defense. I think their defense is going to keep them in games once again. Just don't mess up. Like, just don't have an ill-advised turnover. And even if you got to be more of a pass-heavy offense, because if you can't trust Amari Alston and you can't trust what you got with your depth pieces there, if the quarterback is a good fit for Hugh Freeze's system, I mean, we've seen quarterbacks before work in Hugh Freeze's system, and they put up incredible numbers en route to winning 9+ games. I mean, like, this is not uncommon. When you get the right dude to fit what works for Hugh, it ends up balancing out and becoming a really big factor for your team's finding success. Caden Salter had a lot of success. Chad Kelly.
This is probably the most upside a quarterback's had, and some people may disagree with me. I was never a big Malik Willis fan that he had at Liberty. Again, we signed him when
Willis was good for him. Like, Willis worked for him.
Yeah, he worked for him. But I'd say this Jackson Arnold probably is the most raw talent Hugh Freeze has had at a quarterback since Chad Kelly.
Yeah. And what did he do with Chad Kelly? I mean, he took him to a 9-win season.
Yeah, they won 9 games. Yeah.
Yeah, 9-win season. And he beat Nick Saban. I mean, like, Hugh Freeze gets quarterback play, and he knows what works for a quarterback. And the roster around him is so much better. I do think that that's a big reason why I refuse to sell my Jackson Arnold stock. Doesn't mean that I'm buying in that he's going to lead them to the college football playoff and win a Heisman, but it's really hard to say, okay, this is what he does really well. This is what Hugh coaches really well. Put them together. That's a recipe for at least 1 or 2 upsets and probably, I would say, an 8 or 9-win season. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think with the schedule, they should at least get to 8.
Alabama is one of the teams that's on Auburn's schedule. Last year did not live up to expectations, finished 9-4, losses really bad games against Vanderbilt. The Oklahoma game, they never got their foot off the mat. The Michigan game was just dreadful. Kind of throw that in the wood chipper and never see it again. Here was the quote from Athlon. The expectations define this place. You'll see a competitive program that could end up in Atlanta and make the playoff. But this is a new era Bama is not a surefire lock every season. The good news for them is that you didn't see a lot of key pieces test their market value in the portal. I think Alabama's got very serious and very quickly about NIL and its personnel.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it a lot. I think Alabama's got the least amount of question marks outside of the quarterback position, which, again, I know the most important position in the sport and in all of sports. But I think Kirby Smart would back me up on that. I heard him say it one time. He's like, yeah, Alabama probably has the least amount of question marks when you look at who they retain, bringing back in the program, getting some key pieces. No, I think they're in a good spot this year. I really do. I do like the pieces they got. I think they do have kind of, I think in all sports, I think they're a little behind from a NIL collective standpoint. Again,
Sure.
game's about to change once you get the revenue sharing. Game's going to change a little bit. But I think they were behind it because they got the Nick Saban tax. I think once he retired, they had to go kind of get their ducks in a row. And I think even go bleeding into other sports. I think they're getting a lot better, as you saw Alabama retaining LeBaron Philon last night in basketball.
But that was always going to be a thing. Like, there were kids that just came to Tuscaloosa to say, I played for Nick Saban.
Yeah.
And again, so if that's the reason why you see a little bit of a drop-off, so be it. But I understand the people who are already willing to give up on Kalen DeBoer. And I say this nicely. Jim Dunaway, I think, was the one that came out with his list on the next round about top 5 coaches going into next year. And he had Kalen DeBoer at number 4. You do realize this is currently in college football the third best coach in winning percentage. He's 2 years removed from playing in a national championship. He had back-to-back 11-win seasons out in Seattle with a Huskies team that was dreadful the year before underneath Jimmy Lake. He reinvented the offense for Fresno State, and he was handpicked by Nick Saban as his successor. Now, don't get me wrong, there were a bunch of other people that had some say in it, but Nick was okay with this guy being the one to come on in and replace him. The talent's there offensively. Ryan Grubb's back. I love that. They have 3 quarterbacks. One is going to eventually settle himself in as QB1. The wide receiver room may be the best in the SEC. I'm not ready to say that it is, but it won't shock me if at the end of the year it is. Because if you have 3 guys that are just probably going to finish with at least 700 receiving yards, 40 catches apiece, and I'd go 6 to 7 touchdowns. They have a good defense. They have a solid front 7. It's a little unknown, but it's solid. Their secondary is loaded. Like, literally, there are going to be players that we don't even talk about who we mentioned last year. That's how good they are defensively. You add all that together and you throw in their schedule. If they can get a rhythm and just not lose the games that they should be competitive in, then what are we talking about? 9-3 is probably not on the table. I'd go 10-2. I'd go 11-1. Like, a lot of things would have to go wrong for Alabama, I think, this year to go underneath 10 wins. Because if you have just such a good personnel in the building and a good rapport, to where Kalen DeBoer kind of also said, he kind of pulled a trick out of like the Ohio State book. Hey, Deontay Lawson, you're going to go pro? No, you're not. Here's an NIL deal. You're coming back. Hey, Keon Sabb, you thinking of entering the transfer portal? No, you're not. You're going to take this NIL deal and you're going to come back. Hey, Jeremy Bernard, you want to go enter the transfer portal? How about you stay here instead? Here's an NIL deal for you. So, like, they utilize their NIL assets to keep the players that they want to build their future culture under to set the tone for this year. Like, it's really hard for me to envision Alabama right now not being a 10-win team because of coaching, because of personnel, because of leadership, because of the identity, and honestly also just because of it's Alabama. Like, you don't settle for that. Nobody inside that building settles for a 9-win season.
I think on defense, they're a couple injuries away. If they got depleted injury-wise, they don't have the depth defensively that I could see with their schedule, them going 9-3. And then that would, factor into the unknown at the quarterback spot. I mean, say Ty Simpson was just okay, or they had to play Keelan Russell early, and then you lose 2 safeties, just hypothetically Keon Sabb gets banged up, or then Bray Hubbard. Yeah, you're going to have some holes. They're not. I could see them getting to 9, losing 3 games then. Yeah, I don't think I wouldn't be like, wow, if Alabama went like 9-3.
Yeah, but then when you say is like they're not a lock to make the playoff anymore. Okay, well, no team's a lock to make the playoff. Like, LSU on paper has probably the best roster and the best coaching staff to come through Baton Rouge underneath Brian Kelly. Like, they should be a playoff team. They lose 2 games. Guess what? Everything is up on the radar. Like, they lose 2 games in the first 3 weeks. They basically have to win out to go to the playoffs. And this may be the best team that they've had. Nobody's a lock for the playoff anymore, especially in the SEC. Because the thing was, Dave, and I had a conversation with this with one of my buddies who also covers college football. For years, the SEC had a top, it had a bottom, and then the middle was like 8-4. The middle's caught up in certain spots to where you aren't guaranteed that win against a team that
there's more parity now because of the transfer portal.
So it's like I can't say that any team is a lock anymore. Like I preached last year that Ole Miss was going.
All right, Bear. Year in, year out, right now. Who would you say are your locks to make college football? You put nobody.
At best, I would probably say give me a Notre Dame because of their schedule, and that's if everything continues to go.
To make the playoffs, like it's honestly a good conversation. If you told me who is a lock to make the playoffs 4 out of every 5 years for the next 10 years, so for a 2-cycle standpoint, I would go. If you made me start in the SEC,
I'd go Texas.
Depending how much longer Kirby Smart goes, but I'd go Georgia.
See, I'd go Texas.
I'd go Texas probably. Big Ten, I'd go Oregon, Ohio State.
That'd be it.
Yeah, probably from the locks. ACC, if Clemson stays there, I'd say
it's Clemson or it's no one in my opinion.
Like if you were going to say locks every 4 out of every 5 years, just miss the playoffs once. Those are the teams I would be a little.
I wouldn't even go that far. I'd go Notre Dame because I think that their schedule is going to always be manageable to go 10-2. Right, but I'm just saying Notre Dame would be it, and then I'd probably say Oregon. And if you made me gun to have someone in the SEC, I'd lean Texas. But also I lean Texas thinking that Steve Sarkisian's here. What if a phone call comes from the Jacksonville Jaguars in 3 years? Sark's won a national title. He's done everything that he can at the college level. They say, hey,
I don't know who we're talking about.
Then again, everything's out the window. So
I'm just saying is I know these programs right now. It's hypothetical. I would say those are the only few. Yeah.
I wouldn't even go that far. I'd go 3, and even still, I feel weird saying it in the SEC.
You don't think Ohio State is like every 4 to 5 years, 4 out of every 5 years going to make the playoffs? Would they get 4 guaranteed in that conference?
Well, that's the thing. Are we talking about with the guarantees where we're going with the 5-11?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to get 3 to 4 every year, even before that ruling. I mean, who in the Big Ten is going to get in over them outside of Michigan? I mean, Penn State never beats them, so it's tough for me to say right now.
That's the thing is that what if this is the year where, okay, Penn State
starts. So 1 year they don't make it. Do you think they go another 4 years without making it?
I don't think based off your criteria, 4 out of 4 every 5 years.
4 out of every 5 years. Who are you saying is a lock and
go? Ohio State would be the next one in line. Like I think Ohio State actually over Georgia right now because I got to see change with Georgia. But also Georgia would be close behind it. Like Ohio State and Georgia are the next two for me.
And I know they won the Big Ten, didn't really do anything in the playoffs, but Oregon's the most confident team I'm in the Big Ten.
No, that's my thing is that Oregon and Texas might be newcomers, but they have the coach, they have the money, they have the uniforms, they have the
lined up perfectly.
Everything's lined up to where they're going to enter and they're going to be the favorites. And you know what? In my opinion, they kind of should be because of what they've had. They've gotten their ducks literally in a row to be able to say, hey, we're joining a new conference. We're ready to play. So those are my 3. Like the next 2, I agree with you. It's Ohio State and it's Georgia, but I'm cautiously optimistic with them. I'm also cautiously optimistic with believing that Diego Pavia is once again going to get multiple upsets, lead Vanderbilt to an 8-win season, find a way to be able to bring clarity to the doors. Athlon Sports also agrees. Pavia has an it factor. He's not the most talented, but he is the definition of a college football playmaker. He's never out until the play is over. The entire offense improves when he's clicking. I think you'll see more of an advanced comp sets from them this season to mix up their play after standard play option. They're still lacking in depth on both lines of scrimmage. That's probably their biggest weakness right now.
I mean, I'll say this. This is going to sound wild, and it just came to my head. So I'm going to say, Pavia is that kid right now. And again, let me preface this. I think this year is going to be a little different. I know they got Eli Stowers back. They got the whole offensive system back. But I think second year of film is going to be a little bit of a wake-up call for them just because I think they're not going to surprise people. I mean, we talked about it in our group message, Bear. Kane Womack, Alabama's defensive coordinator, has that scoreboard of the Vanderbilt-Alabama final last year when they just got railroaded defensively by that offense. So I think they're not going to have – nobody's going to catch them by surprise, or they're not going to catch anybody by surprise. But Diego Pavia plays with that look that – hell, I don't even know how old you were at this point, Bear, but – so I was at the 2008 SEC championship game. It was the first kind of 1 versus 2, Bama, Florida. Winner was going to go on and play either Oklahoma or Texas. Ended up being Oklahoma in the national title game. His first kind of SEC championship game. Winners going in. It's almost a playoff in itself. The way Tim Tebow, after an Ole Miss loss that year, just continually had that look in his eyes like I'm going to will this team to a victory and there's nothing you can do. It's like a phenomenal scorer in basketball. It's like, dude, it don't matter if we run a box with one of this guy. He's scoring, dude. Like, you just can't stop him. Diego Pavia had that in him a little bit last year. Now, again, did it result in some big championship? No. I mean, they won the Birmingham Bowl. But, like, from a Vanderbilt contextually standpoint, he's one of the few guys. Him, Cam Newton had that. Bryce Young isn't the physically imposing out of the group, but Bryce Young had a little bit of,
I'll tell you who had it.
It was Bryce. Like,
Baker had it.
Diego Pavia is a little different. Again, I don't know if they're not going to go win 8-9 games this year. They're going to be closer to that 6th round. But Diego Pavia, to this quote point, has that massive it factor. You can just see it.
Diego Pavia is Kirkland brand Baker Mayfield. And I say that with the utmost respect. Because Baker Mayfield just played like he was the greatest thing on the field. He did not care about the competition. He did not care about who was lining up against him. He did not care about defensive coordinators. He did not care about the outside noise. He went into every matchup going, take me down, watch how quickly I'm going to embarrass you. And he got in people's faces, and he pissed people off. And you know what? He had the talent to back it up. Diego Pavia doesn't have that. Like, Diego Pavia does not have a cannon of an arm that's going to reach you 67 yards down the field. Diego Pavia is not going to be a quarterback that you see on Sundays light it up and lead his team with a top 5 scoring unit. Like, that's not him. But the way he carries himself, like, first comment after beating Alabama, hey, we're still in the running for the national championship. Like you just beat Bama. You beat Bama in your backyard in a stadium that's not even fully built yet. And your first comment is national championship. I don't care about this game. I'm going to continue to play until I win the Heisman. Like, psycho shit that you see at a place like Vanderbilt. Things that is not supposed to be common there. That's going to lead you to a win that you shouldn't have this year. The quote is 100% right. I'm not banking on Vandy to be like this 9-win team and Clark Lee to get another SEC Coach of the Year and then being like a dark horse to, hey, if a couple things go your way and we have to have a conversation, look at their resume, look at who they beat. Like, I'm not going to go that far because of the roster in itself is missing so many pieces. There's so many elements to where they're going to be held back. But there's going to be a game where Diego Pavia just unloads on somebody. And it could be Auburn, it could be Kentucky, it could be Tennessee, it could be Alabama, it could be Oklahoma, it could be South Carolina. But he is going to have one of those moments where everyone watches as he turns and has like this evil cricket smile and go, ah, crap, we're getting this version out. He 100% has that it factor. That thing that is going to lead you to a win. He's going to get an upset this year.
Yeah, no, I think they will upset somebody. I just think they will be more – people will not overlook them this year. I think it's going to be – it's wild to say that scoreboard is posted in the University of Alabama's football facility, but it is nonetheless. But, yeah, we talked about it. That's a game I'm pretty confident.
Oh, Alabama. The Alabama game is the one I'm not talking about. But, like, Auburn getting really hot, and they're on a roll. And then you have
Auburn be overlooking them? I mean, hell, Auburn's lost this guy 2 years in a row.
Yeah, but Hugh Freeze lost to him 3 years in a row.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think we'll have Auburn's attention.
But, like, that's my point is that, like, is Auburn going to be the one? Is South Carolina going to be the one?
Texas.
Missouri? Like, Missouri's really hot. And this is where, okay, you know what? We got to realize that their schedule. Let's go ahead and take a breather on this for a second. Like, he's going to do it to somebody. It's going to happen. I don't know who it is. Like, review, hit subscribe. Make sure that you're following us on social media. That way you keep up with all of our daily content. Billy Napier back in the news. Certainly a coach on the hot seat. There is a massive year for Billy Napier. He survived because of the changing politics of the game and ended up working out last year. Now he has to show positive momentum with this group and start competing for the postseason. Defensively, they're young, but they finally got some guys in there that look elite.
It's another Billy one?
Yeah, well, it's a Florida one.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, we talked about this one. I'm not going to be long-winded. It's the most talented. It's similar to Auburn. Most talented group they've had in like 5 years. So I think this is the highest ceiling. So I'm not going to rephrase exactly what I already said.
Do you think that though he was saved last year because of the buyout cause, or do you think?
Yeah, I think because of how money is in college football now. I mean, you don't want to be spending that buyout and the buyouts. I think people always forget too. It's not just the head coaches buyouts; it's the assistant coaches too. It's always a couple, easily over $1 million for a couple of these dudes. So I think it's that too. And it's like, unless it's bleeding out, sorry for the graphic analogy, people, like, would you rather spend some money on these buyout, or would you rather retain some guys on our roster and go out and get some better guys to help us? You pick the poison.
Look, here's where I stand on this, and it's pretty simple. Your schedule didn't change this year. The only thing that changed was your location. You still are playing Miami. You still are playing Texas. You still are playing Texas A&M. You still are playing LSU. You still are playing Ole Miss. So when you fire a coach, the hope is that the next guy that comes on in changes the culture, changes the identity, puts yourself in a better position than what you were last year. Who's doing that? Like who is coming in and you're losing all this talent, and maybe you lose your star quarterback, and maybe you lose a bunch of weapons, and you don't land these top 10 recruiting classes, and all these kids that you thought were going to be bought into Florida and they're invested in the Gators, they're not here anymore. So I think that played more of a role. Like, we're going to be the same team, if not worse, next year. So why are we going to fire a guy to bring in another guy and set him up to fail the second that he touches down in Gainesville? Like, I think that was more of a factor. Let's see what happens over these next 2 years for Billy. Let's go ahead and get our roster put together. Let's not go panic right now. Because if in 2 years, well, now we're going to have a completely different schedule. It's going to be more manageable. It's going to be more relaxed. We may end up finding that Billy is the right guy. Let's not panic at this point. So I think that was more so a factor. The buyout was a big deal, but it's like, if you're not going to,
people aren't willing to spend money like they were. I mean, you just can't fire people if they're just okay. I don't know. You just can't flush money down the drain like that anymore.
Well, you better have the guy that's coming on in ready to understand what the results are going to be next year, and he's going to be pretty much a team-friendly deal. It's going to be a very
8 games. Didn't they went 8-4? They weren't going to fire him at 8-4.
No, but back at the time when everyone was saying that they were going to fire him before
after the A&M loss,
because remember, you had Scott Strickland come out with the statement.
I think DJ Lagway kind of saved him from a glimmer of hope and him being like a youthful foundational quarterback for the future.
Yeah, sure. But I do think that when you also throw in the fact that they made the statement, and then right after they made the statement, they kept winning. And so that was just like another thing. Like, Scott Strickland came out and said, we're not getting rid of Billy. I don't know what this rumor is. He's back for 2025. And the second that he did, well, there we go. Okay, you beat LSU, you beat Ole Miss, you win the bowl game against Tulane. Congratulations, you're 8-5. Look at this. You have an identity. You have a top 10 recruiting class. Like, once you got that buy-in, it was good.
Yeah.
Georgia, they're a team that a lot of people are saying is going to go to the college football playoff, and while they should, I like the moves that they made in the transfer portal, but we heard Paul Feinbaum bring this up. They're not the only person that brought this up. Quarterback play. All eyes are on the offense. They have questions at pretty much every position group here. Is Stockton legit QB1? Can they replace the offensive line? Can the receiving core move? Do they have a guy behind Frazier in the backfield? Last season, they looked muddled, not bad, but you get the idea. They weren't confident in one particular area of their attack.
Yeah, I've heard from someone pretty close to the program, the Stockton, I'm not going to say experiment. He's the guy, he's in the driver's seat right now, but I could see this being Puglisi's job at some point. And Stockton was not impressive in the spring. I heard at one point he had like 15 straight incompletions at one point in a skelly period in practice. So I think that's a very fair question mark. Again, I don't think he was bad against Notre Dame, but this is led on past post Notre Dame, post Sugar Bowl. But no, I mean, I think they're fine. I think they're definitely good enough to win in a lot of other places. Just really young on defense, get some guys on the edge rolling. But no, I think it's all going to come down to the quarterback play for them as well. I think they could be as talented on defense as they've had in a while. Just very youthful outside of the second level, the linebacker spot. But yeah, I'm not overly fired up about Gunnar Stockton right now.
See, I'm fine with Gunnar Stockton because I've watched quarterbacks of his potential play at Georgia, and I've seen them be successful. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to be the second-year version of Stetson Bennett, but like if he's year one version of Stetson Bennett, and the supporting cast around him is pretty good, and your defense still is pretty good, and you know that you didn't, and the players that you brought in the portal all hit. Like Elo Meduzzi comes on in and is the number one pass rusher for your team, and Josh McCray is a really good number 2, and he's the new Trevor Etienne. Like, if you do that, that might be enough to get you to Atlanta, win the SEC, have a first-round bye, and be in the college football playoff for a couple of games to where you go on a run. I was not unimpressed with Gunnar Stockton's performance in the Sugar Bowl or in the second half of the SEC championship game. He wasn't the reason they won, or the reason they lost. He was just kind of there. Now, can he get slightly better? Can he improve on certain little things? Absolutely. But the quote that I looked at is, they're not complete at any position, and something was off last year. It was muddled. I looked at Georgia. The thing that's made Georgia for the majority of the Kirby Smart era is their physicality on both sides of the line. They get in your face, they punch you, they knock you down, they do it with a smile on their face, and they go, hit me again, bitch. And then they don't do anything. And last year, it just kind of felt like there wasn't that torque. There wasn't that there wasn't that next level thing. There wasn't a good punch, a good fight. They just kind of went through the motions. So is that going to be any different?
It's been a 2-year, it's been a 2-year drought for them in the front seven on defense. To their standard. I mean, again, we're talking about the SEC champions here.
And like, that's the thing, is that like, if Gunnar Stockton can just be a good enough quarterback and all the pieces are good enough, they're still going to win the SEC because they've done it. Like that's Kirby's thing, is like, hey, I have a B team. A B team still got me to Atlanta and we won 10, 11 games. Sue me. Like that's what you have. And I'm a little low on Georgia. I think I'm a lot lower. I'm not as low as some other people, but I'm a little low. I don't think that they should be the clear-cut number 2 in the SEC right now. I think that there's a case for Alabama, for LSU, for I would even go to say, well, Texas is number 1 in my opinion, far and away right now. But like, there's
you think Texas is far and away better than
I love what
Texas gap other teams.
Yeah, I do right now.
Dude, I don't know how you can say that right now. They lost 4 starters on the offensive line, have a new quarterback, lost their top defensive lineman outside of the edges, and lost their top 3 wide receivers. I don't know how you could say they're on an elite level and everyone else is underneath them by themselves.
I don't say they're on an elite level, but I said they're that
good. You'd be insinuating if you said they're on their own
level. I agree. I do. I think that 100%. I do. I'm sorry. Like, I feel much better about Texas right now than I feel about Georgia, than I feel about Alabama. I feel more. I think LSU's closer to Texas than I think anybody else is right now. At least going into.
I just don't think there's a gap in that. I think they're all they all have question marks. I don't know how you could say Texas doesn't have question marks.
I look at the talent they brought in, and I don't doubt their development at this point. And so when I don't doubt the development, and I don't doubt that they're going to miss a beat, I like the transfer portal additions that they have, and I like the depth that they have, and I like the way that I've seen the growth and the maturity on the offensive line with Kyle Flood.
We haven't seen the offensive line this year.
What I'm saying is the development. Texas never had a first-round offensive tackle in the last 10 years underneath everyone else, and now they have a 2-time All-American that went 9th overall. Like, you're telling me that
last year. I'm just saying this year. To say they have no question marks heading into the year that's a wild.
They have question marks, but I think they have the fewest question marks for me, despite having the biggest roster. Man, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. I don't worry about Texas.
I'm not worried. I think they'll make the playoffs. I just don't think they have the few. I mean, Alabama. I mean, there are numbers that back this up, Bear. That Alabama has more return in production than Texas.
Right. But sometimes I also think that the development of talent, the way that you build your roster, and that was how I felt about Nick Saban every single year with Alabama. The names that they had.
Texas is to what Alabama was with.
No, but I think it's starting to get to that level. The names that were waiting in the wings, they'd start for a lot of other teams. They've been waiting. They've been developing. Now you're going to throw them out there. You don't miss a beat.
See, I love the edge. I love Anthony Hill and them. I don't know. I have some question marks for them for sure.
But when it comes to Georgia, my big thing is that if you have an average offensive line, you're winning the SEC championship game. If you have a little bit of that extra torque, that extra fight, that extra grit, you're talking about a team that can get to 11-1 and look like the most dominant team in college football. And that's where I look more so for the rest of Georgia than actually Gunnar Stockton. Like, are you going to have wide receivers dropping balls on 3rd down and you have to go settle for a punt? Are you not going to be able to get your offensive lineman to give you that extra shove to get the first down for Nate Frazier or Josh McCray? Like, those are things that I wonder about when it comes to Georgia, more so than Gunnar Stockton, because Jake Fromm led you to a college football playoff appearance and a national championship. Stetson Bennett led you to a college football playoff appearance and a national championship. JT Daniels led you to a 10-win season. So it's like, that's where I'm at. Like that's where I'm at when it comes to Georgia, especially the quarterback spot. If everything else around you is slightly above average, the way that you're coached, the way you prepare, the way that you mentally process things, Stockton just needs to be an average quarterback, and I think that they'll be fine. I don't need him to be that factor, the way that
who's the last average quarterback that In today's college football, I think for you to go win a championship, your quarterback has to be a good player for you. You can't just be like a game manager. Like I think I was a little higher on him going into the spring, and from hearing stuff, I'm a little more down on him. But I agree with you; they have holes in other parts of the team as well.
But the last quarterback to do that was Stetson Bennett in 2021.
Stetson Bennett was good, dude. Like his last year, look at the stats. He wasn't just he was one of the better players on the team.
No, in 2022, 100%. Stetson Bennett was the reason they won the national title. But 2021, defense, great run game, overall. That's where I will go. Like,
and he's an exception. Like, where are these other? Again, I do think Stockton's going to have to be better than we've seen for them to ultimately win the SEC.
But Jake Fromm got you to one. Max Duggan is a terrible quarterback when it comes to the mechanics, and he still led TCU to an upset win over Michigan. So it's like there's reasons to believe that it can happen. Like, that's why I say it that way.
Yeah, no, we agree on the same. You're a little higher on Gunner than I am, but we both agree they have other things they need to shore up around him to help
following us on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson, at Dave Shumate. Let's go to Missouri's schedule. We haven't done Missouri just yet. 10-3 last year. Really solid, I think, overall baseline. You know what you know. Like, you know what you're going to get in Missouri. That's kind of the main point. Central Arkansas, week 1, a return of the rivalry from the Big 8 and then the Big 12 with Kansas. Louisiana, then South Carolina, in Como, UMass, where you won't be playing in UMass this year. Alabama, you guys
it's in Faro this year, right? It's Faro Field.
Then you go on a little bit of a road trip at Auburn, at Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, at Oklahoma, and at Arkansas to close out the year. So when you look at it, the most winnable conference game is
Mississippi State at home.
Yeah, it's Mississippi State. I mean, like, that's just kind of a given.
It's the low-hanging fruit when you got to take there.
Is there another one you pick besides that?
I mean, no, I think it's for sure that. I don't think it's a close second. Maybe at Arkansas, depending what time of year, but I think there's no. I mean, yeah.
If the game was at home, I would say that because I think that at this point, Arkansas is kind of waving the white flag on the season. So, like, but it's at Arkansas.
You don't know what Arkansas is doing that time of year.
3 must-win game, or actually, the most exciting game for you.
Most exciting game?
Yeah.
They could be. I think they should beat Kansas. I mean, they could be most exciting going. I'm going to go in. Probably Alabama, October 11th. I mean, they could be undefeated. I mean, South Carolina at home. They could. And Eli Drinkwitz has had his success outside of last year against Beamer. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think that would be the most exciting game probably because they could easily be undefeated. That environment could be really good.
I think South Carolina is the most exciting game, and the reason why is because so many people last year were looking at a 9-win Mizzou team. They get the touchdown to Luther Burden. If they just get a stop on South Carolina, they're 10-2 at the end of the season. They're 10-2. They're in the college football playoff. So a part of me feels like they want to get that win in the other Columbia. They want to be able to win this one in front of their home crowd. And maybe that's the spark to where there's a belief that comes in and it starts to kind of build on up that Ahmad Hardy can be that difference maker. Bo Pabula can be a special quarterback. Kevin Coleman can be a special wide receiver. And they don't end up going to the playoff, but hey, you're playing against Auburn. You're taking Auburn down to the wire, and Auburn's a more complete team than you. Hey, you're playing against Alabama, taking them down to the wire, and Alabama's a more complete team than you. Hey, you're beating up on Oklahoma on the road. Hey, you're beating Texas A&M. Like, I just feel like that getting a win against a South Carolina team with a really good quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks in the sport, especially if you're able to kind of pick on their weaknesses early on, that's a tone setter for you to go into the month of October. When
adding those two coaches can't stand each other.
Yeah, I mean, like that's just another thing. It's like adding the animosity to it, and you know that's going to be a good fight. 3 must-win games.
3 must-win. I'm going to go South Carolina at home. Mississippi State would be a tough loss.
I'm not even putting Mississippi State on there at this point. I'm not.
You got to win that game, though. I'm going to go South Carolina, Mississippi State. Let's go Kansas because I'm going to put some stock in that this year. Because, again, I think if Missouri goes 8-4, but they get that Kansas win and the first time they played in a while, I think that'll carry a lot of weight and still the momentum's riding high for Eli and the boys in Columbia. So if they could start off 4-0, I I feel pretty good about the Tigers, like heading into again. Kansas may not end up being any good. South Carolina may end up being average. I don't know. Who knows? But I feel like that's a good start to the season because I think that defense.
Well, if you go 4-0, you're going 5-0 because you're not losing to UMass.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Then you're one game away from being bowl eligible, and then you still got a very manageable schedule down the stretch.
I think that I agree with you, Kansas. I think just the rivalry, like people don't understand that these two schools hate each other.
Oh,
like,
I went to Kansas. Yeah, they didn't even play, and I know they hated each other.
They hate each other. So Jalen Daniels is back. Lance Leipold is there. Eli Drinkwitz with a brand new quarterback. Being able to boast and talk crap to your rival and your next door neighbor state-wise, that just carries a lot of weight. So yeah, I agree with you on that. I think Auburn at Auburn is a must win. And the reason I say that is because you start your season off 6 straight games at home or 6 straight games in the state. So you already are not leaving Missouri until October 18th. Getting a win on the road shows that you are a dynamic team that doesn't just need the home atmosphere to go ahead and pull off an upset. Like you don't just like you can lose to Bama, but Bama's a college football playoff team. You beat Auburn on the road at Jordan-Hare. You can play in environments to where maybe you start buying a little bit of stock in, hey, if we just get to 10 wins, we may go to the playoff as a road team, but hell, at least we're in the playoff. Like we've shown that we can win on the road. We've shown that we can win outside of our stadium. So I throw that in that one. And then I feel like I'll go gut feeling Texas A&M.
I was going to change mine. I think from your revenge factor last year, it'd be a good late season win.
There's just so much that went wrong in that game to where they never got off on the right foot. And so when you add all that together, it was a negative from the jump. It was always just a really underwhelming performance. You're a team that's missing a lot, but A&M, they have their weaknesses. Maybe you can attack because you lost also to Connor Wigman. You didn't lose to Marcel Reed. So it's like, that's another thing that you could throw in there. Maybe you're better off against him. It's a win at home. It probably could be a top 25 matchup between both of you. It could be a game that keeps you in the playoff hunt one more week. I go A&M as the must win.
Yeah, I could see that too. You factor in last year. Yeah, that'd be, again, a good late season win.
Ceiling for Mizzou.
I don't think they get here, but I mean, because I think the schedule's so beneficial, and I think the defense can be percent. I'll say 10-2. I don't really think they're a 10-2 team, but if you're really saying they're max ceiling, if all things broke well, like they had they were in the injury grace, I should say, 2 years ago without all with the offensive line continuity they had, as many starts as they had, and something like that. If they got something out of Bo Prabula, the offense arises to the occasion. Yeah, I mean, if all things broke their way, and I'm saying everything broke their way, 10 floor, I think I'd say 6 probably. I think they got a pretty high ceiling, low floor, and a lot of it has to do with their schedule for me.
10 wins. I agree. Because like you can you lose to Bama and you lose to
at Oklahoma.
Is anybody going to be shocked at that if you rattle off wins?
No. Let's be honest, but if they go 10-2, I don't think they'll care.
No, and then again, that's the thing. Goes right back to the Eli Drinkwitz. That's the most underrated staff in the SEC. Whole new roster change. You went out, you brought in the right type of transfers. You got a quarterback that you can buy stock into for the next 2 years. You have a running back that can be your baseline. Have some young playmakers on the outside, and you lost to 2 teams that maybe go to the playoff alongside you. Okay, cool. I'm fine with that. Or you lose to Kansas and you lose to Bama. Yeah, it sucks that you lost to your rival and you lost to one of the better teams in the SEC, but you've only lost 1 conference game. Imagine what the rest of the people are saying about your schedule. You beat Auburn on the road. You beat Oklahoma at Memorial. You kicked the crap out of Arkansas once again. I think that could be their ceiling. Because, again, the schedule is so manageable. You're 6 weeks in the state of Missouri and a bye in there. So all these new players at home get acclimated with the system, with what's going to be run, and they have the home back to kind of give them the support. So, yeah, I think 10-2 is a ceiling. I'll go 7-5 as a floor. I like too much of the coaching staff to doubt that they won't get to 7 wins. I like Kirby Moore too much. I like Dave Batoon too much.
Schedule very, yeah, they should win 7 or 8 games, I think.
I think they should Corey Batin, my bad. I just a drink. He can piss people off. He can get under people's skin. Like, yeah, he can do that. But that also kind of works for Missouri. Like, that's what kind of stands out with Mizzou is that they're that ragtag team of underdogs that doesn't give a care in the world about what people are saying about them. They're just going to go out there and play their brand of football, and they're going to kick your ass while doing it. So.
Yeah. If they could be 5-0 going in that Bama game, that'd be massive. I mean, the really only game I can't – again, who knows with Bo Prabula. Again, Louisiana's kind of a wild card after the Kansas game. Kind of seems like a trap. But, I mean, they should be – I mean, I think at least 4-1 going into that game.
Well, like, here's the deal. Okay, look at the quarterbacks. You're taking Bo Prabula over whoever's at Central Arkansas. You're taking Bo Prabula over anybody at Louisiana, over anybody at UMass. But then you look at everyone else. It's not a toss-up, but it's also like, if Bo Prabula is just slightly better than this guy, do you have a shot? Like Jalen Daniels, if you're slightly better than him with your roster, can you beat Kansas? Probably. You're slightly better than Jackson Arnold. Could you beat Auburn? Probably. You're slightly better than Vanderbilt. Could you beat Vandy? Probably.
See, I don't think they beat Auburn this year, but I mean, I see what you're talking about.
Like,
Auburn beat them last year.
But, like, it's one of those things where if you just get good enough quarterback play, you can probably win some of those games. So it's so hard for me not to be invested into that. That's why.
No, I agree.
But 7-5, 10-2. I mean, you're 6-6. I mean, it's about the same. You're a bowl eligible team. You're a dark horse for the college football playoff.
Agree.
And again, that's the blessing of schedules sometimes. Not everyone is made the same. You look at Oklahoma, an 8-4 for them. Like, with that schedule, maybe Mizzou goes 8-4 that year, or they go 6-6 that year. So that's kind of the blessing that you have. Like, review, hit subscribe. Make sure that you're following us on all social media channels. This show is brought to you, of course, by our friends over at FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com/SECU. Join in the action today. Sign on up, win $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Dave and I will be back on Monday. We will have more conversations about which teams can and can't go to the college football playoff. We will have more conversations about scheduling, and there'll probably be more things that we want to talk about from SEC meetings. But for Dave Shumate, I am Cole Thompson. Have a great end of your week. Have a great end of your weekend. Make sure that you enjoy every single moment. We will see you on Monday. And remember, as always, you only live life once, so go ahead and live it to the fullest. Bye.